Joining me right now is someone who's got a real pulse of what the global economy is doing and what different markets are doing as well. He's the CEO of two Fortune 500 companies, two of the largest automakers in the world. Carlos Ghosn is CEO of Nissan Motors. He's also CEO of Renault. Mr. Ghosn, thanks very much for joining us here in Davos.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. How's been the Davos experience this year? I mean, what are you feeling?
Well, it's a good experience. It's a good experience first because there are a lot of contacts. You get to meet a lot of people that usually you don't meet, particularly from emerging markets and new countries. It's also a good place where you can feel the pulse, not only in terms of technology, but also in terms of political trend, in terms also of expectation. What are the priorities in the mind of other CEOs? This is extremely important for me, and this is very important for other people to hear also your opinion about specific trends. So very positive and very instructive.
I know it's a very television question to ask, but I mean, at the start of the year, that we're here now, what do you say, the pulse that you're getting from other CEOs that you've met and spoken to? Is it 2015 and beyond looking better than the previous year?
I would say cautious economical optimism. That's the way. I mean, a lot of preoccupation on the political side.
Right.
But I would say on the economy, which is the main subject, this is the World Economic Forum, it's a cautious and prudent optimism, moderate optimism for 2015. I mean, it translates into all the numbers. All the forecasts emitted by the different entities here are showing, around 2.5 to 3% growth of the global economy. If I look at the car market, it's around, 1 to 2% growth. So growth, but
of course, different markets growing at very different speeds, right?
Oh, a big difference between the different markets. So people are optimistic on the United States. They are optimistic on India recently.
Yes.
They are optimistic on a slow recovery of Europe. They are more preoccupied about Russia. They are preoccupied with Brazil. They are preoccupied with Japan. So a very different situation function of the market. But globally, 1 to 2% growth.
I'll just get back to some of these markets in a bit, but you did mention twice, people are preoccupied also with the political changes which are taking place. Can you be a little more specific and how that will impact? There
are a lot of conflicts, popping up here and there. There are a lot of a little bit chaotic situation that usually, very well, business doesn't like that. Business like more predictability, more order. What's going on in the Middle East, for example, is a cause of preoccupation. What's going on in Russia is a cause of preoccupation. So there are a lot of, spots, political spots where there have been a lot of debates. But I don't think they reflect an economic weakness. That means for the moment there are more political concerns.
Right.
Some of them translates into economic concern, like Russia, but most of them are in areas which don't affect the U.S. economy or the European economy or the Chinese economy.
Okay. Russia, for example, how bad is it? You're a big player there.
Well, the facts are here. 2014, the car market in Russia went down 11%. And this even though the government intervened to support consumption and buying cars on the second half of 2014. And the forecast of the industry today, if I take all the players in the industry in Russia, I would say it would turn in 2015 around minus 20%. So minus 11 in 2014. Let's suppose the forecast is real, minus 20%. You're shaving off 1/3 of the car market in Russia. Is very severe. So everybody's worried. Everybody looking at what's the way out. What are the policies that can allow to weather the storm? Car makers are taking the decision to protect themselves, both in terms of what to do in order to adapt to the level of the new market. Minus 11% is severe. There is another minus 20% in the forecast. You need to adapt your workforce. You need to adapt your, supply chain. At the same time, you have the ruble going down, declining, which means you need to localize your production because you can't import. It's very expensive to import. So there are a lot of adjustments to be made in order to weather the storm.
The other two markets you mentioned is Brazil and Japan, right?
Yes.
Those are also very
worrying market. Yeah. Brazil, because I think at the best case, Brazil, the car market in Brazil will be stable. Best case, the most likely is going to be probably negative by 4 to 5%. This is the most likely. Obviously, all the decisions of the government have not been unveiled yet, but there are some corrections taking place. So I don't think it's going to be a great year for Brazil in terms of consumption. The third one is Japan, but Japan, it is something which was predictable and which was foreseen.
It's ongoing, in a sense.
Exactly.
America is doing very well. And the
Yeah.
question I want to ask you is not about so much about the car market, but how sustainable is what we're seeing in the U.S.?
I think the U.S. Is sustainable for a very simple reason is, you had a period of time of a very quick recovery. Now we're seeing the growth stable at a reasonable level. I mean, the overall economic growth of the year is estimated at around 3%. The car market should be around 1 to 2%. So it's very good. I mean, we're happy with this.
But there's also this, the GDP numbers are looking better and better in the
Yes.
US, but the middle class, for example, is shrinking, according to many studies and estimates, and that's not a good thing. I mean, those are the people who buy cars and vehicles, right? I mean, businesses, corporates, etc., seem to be doing well. The S&P is at a new record, but the people aren't sort of off as well as you would expect.
Look, on the short term, we don't see it. That means because it's mainly the middle class buying cars, and the fact that this year 16.5 million cars were sold in the United States, which is higher than the level at which the car market in the U.S. was before the financial crisis, is a very good sign. Just to compare this to Europe, for example, in Europe, the car market, even though has recovered a little bit in 2014, is still 20% below where it was before the financial crisis. So I don't think on the short term we can see any, hint that, there is a shrinking on the
Nothing.
of the.
You're not seeing that.
No, we don't see it. Now, this may happen in the future, so that's why I don't think we can just, eliminate these concerns. We should really look at the data and make sure that everything which can be done to support the middle class and the purchasing power of the middle class is done.
What about Europe? Many are saying, well, it's in deflation. The only question is how entrenched is that going to be?
No, I think Europe should be in a recovering slowly, but certainly in 2015. Before the measures announced by the European Central Bank, I would say that we would be on a level of growth of around 1%. Now, knowing what has been decided, I would tend to say, well, we're going to move probably more towards 2%.
Okay.
So it's going to be, these measures are going to support a little bit the recovery of Europe. So nothing great, but it's certainly after so many years of decline, we're happy to see Europe be back to recovery, which was the case in 2014 and certainly now in 2015.
What do you think is the impact going to be on, say, electric cars, where you're out there, promoting that very aggressively over the collapse in the price of oil? You think that push is going to get a little, it's going to get pushed back now?
Well, no, I don't think it's going to be pushed back. I think it's going to be a little bit of headwind. Okay. Obviously, when you have a very high price of oil, it's a tailwind. When you have a low price of oil, it's headwind. But we're going in the same direction. Why? Because one of the main reasons for which car makers are going to have all to come with electric cars and electric car technology is because the emission regulation are going to get tougher. This is true in China, this is true in the United States, in Europe.
Okay.
So, and there is no way you can meet these emission new standard, new regulation without a good percentage of your sales in zero emission cars. That's why I think, you're going to see more electric cars, you're going to see much more acceptance by the public. Infrastructure, charging infrastructure is developing. Cost of the car is going to go down. So I'm not worried about it. Now, this being said, we recognize the fact that the price of oil can be a headwind or a tailwind. But I don't think it's going to deviate you from the direction of development of this technology.
But you've said in past interviews that, research and development towards, say, for example, in electric cars is very important for that to be accepted by the public. There are practical constraints right now.
Yes.
Why it's not being used as it should be.
Yeah.
You think it's going to be difficult to justify that expenditure? Because
look, most of the expenditure has been done. That means and car makers continue to do it, even though the return on this investment is still questionable. Okay. Because it depends on when we're going to have a takeoff of the sales of electric car. Obviously, we are moving in the right direction, but still this really ramp up demand did not start. But there is no doubt on it, because you're seeing that more car makers are coming to electric car. So we started it, few followed, but now you have more and more car makers announcing electric car. Not only because everybody knows that the price of oil is unpredictable. Nobody has predicted where we are today, and I don't think anybody can dare make a forecast about where the price of oil is going to be 1 year or 2 years down the road. So it may go up, but the emission problem is still there.
Okay. Thanks very much, sir. Great talking to you.
Thank
Good
you.
luck. Lovely chatting with you. Thank you.